We'll start. We will start our agenda first on it and go through. Any questions, please hold them until I get back to you. So the first thing is the minutes, approval of the minutes for August 4th, 2021.
Move their adoption.
Anybody second it?
Commissioner Berquist will second.
Second, okay, discussion. Everyone had a chance to look at it. Any questions about it? Ted?
I looked at it, even though I wasn't there, I did read it carefully. I didn't see anything.
Oh, that's right. Okay, that's, all right. Okay,
You have to abstain when I vote.
all right. So all in
All
favor?
in favor?
All-
Okay.
All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oppose? It passed. Okay,
And
yeah, can you hear me?
you have me as abstaining.
I'm sorry.
If you have me abstaining, I have to abstain.
I'm saying yes.
Yes.
I'll be on today, so I'll be on the record.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Rebecca Plinscon from the CE shop, seeking approval for the mandatory classes. Are you here? Is she muted or
Yeah, I'm here.
you're here?
I
Okay.
am, and I actually have a couple of colleagues of mine with me. So I have our Vice President of Curriculum and Education, Mike Matouche here, and I also have our paralegal, Fran Kuttner, with me.
Okay. What can we do for you?
So we are seeking approval for the new core law course to be delivered asynchronously. And I believe that there was some information in your packet that we had sent to the commission previously. Oh, there we go.
Has our legal department had a chance to review this? Paulette?
Good morning. Oh, good morning. I'm here.
Hey, good morning, Paul. How
I
are
did
you?
take a look at it. Yep.
Any notes or anything you want to add to it?
I don't have anything to add to it. It really is up to the commission to make a decision as to whether they will approve this type of course. I do understand from our statute that if the reason for if it were to be denied cannot be because it's provided online, there has to be other reasons other than it being offered online. So I leave it to the commission to have a discussion about it, take questions from the course provider, prospective course provider, and then come to a decision.
Okay, the commission, questions. Anyone has any questions regarding this?
Only one question. I looked up what the word means. I read all the materials. Could someone-
I still can't pronounce it, but I know what it means.
Okay, I wonder if someone could go over it and explain it to me exactly what it means. I think I know what it means, but I want to make sure.
So does there could you repeat again exactly what are you looking for us to do? You want to approve, us to approve?
Yeah, so we are looking for the commission to approve our course to be 100% asynchronous.
100%.
And just to clarify, this is Mike Matouche with the CE Shop. And just to clarify, I know in the agenda, it said that we were looking for both core courses. We're actually only speaking to the Connecticut Real Estate Law for Brokers and Salesperson course. We understand that the racial bias course was designed for live delivery.
So the course you're looking for is for law and what? I'm sorry?
It's the real estate law for brokers and salesperson, the second of two mandatory courses.
Mhm. Anyone, and any other questions regarding it? No questions? Okay. All right, then we'll vote on it.
Actually, Ben, I do have a question. I'm sorry, it took me a second to unmute myself. So reading through the document you provided, so one of the, you're supposed to sit for 3 hours for these classes, and in a monitored class, you can make sure the person's there for 3 hours. And in your document, you say that it takes people 150 minutes to get through this, but is there any actual setting or something that tracks their time in the course?
Yes,
As opposed to, I can just, click through 150 slides or however many and because I know the answers to the questions, right? Or whatever you're quizzing me on.
Yeah, absolutely there is. I mean, first and foremost, the course is designed to take the average student that long, and it has several roadblocks, if you will, knowledge checks, mandatory participation requirements in there. So that's first and foremost, is that it is designed to take that amount of time. And in the previous renewal period courses, the Fair Housing 1 and 2 courses, to answer one of your other questions is, yes, it absolutely is tracked by the system. And on average, the Fair Housing 1 course was 181 minutes, and the Fair Housing 2 course was 177, 178. So those are just averages, but really to get to your real question, yes, the system does enforce mandatory seat time. So it will not let the student complete the course without having been actively engaged in that course for a minimum of 150 minutes.
Excuse me, now, is that very similar to the AARP driving course online, where they won't let you go to the next question until a certain time has passed?
Not sure about that particular course, but in this case, it is set up at the course level. Since it's only a 3-hour course, it's not set up to, be unit based or section based. It's or topic based. It's the entire duration of the course.
Well, that sounds similar to what the AARP does. It will not let you it won't let you skip. You've got to take a certain amount of time on each question in order to comply with the 4-hour requirement. So I know it can be done.
Well, and just to clarify, so that is not how this one is currently set up. We would have the ability to do that at the unit level. So that kind of break it down. So you've got a 30-minute module or something like that can be enforced. But the way that this course is currently set up, because it has already been built out so that the commission can actually see it, should they need to. But this one's set up to enforce at the course level. However, progression is required in sequence. So students still have to complete all of their required tasks in order. They can't jump straight to the end, take a test, and be done.
Thank you.
Yep.
I have a question.
There is also a question that I think just a participant has said, that I know that people can set this up and walk away from the computer just sharing my information. So I'm not sure if you want to address that as well.
Sure. So students actually have to remain active in their course, or they'll be automatically timed out and their timer stops and does not count. We have the ability to adjust that timer to whatever it needs to be. In most cases right now, I believe, that's fully adjustable. So if there was a dependency on this course approval, we can adjust it. But I believe that timer is set at either 20 minutes or 30 minutes currently. But they would still.
All right, well, that seems very long to me. 20 minutes or 30 minutes. I could go do laundry for a half an hour and not pay attention to a class I'm supposed to be in.
Understood, but the thing is, they also have to complete all of the required activities and assessments that are within this course. So they still have to demonstrate an understanding of the content. Regardless, if they were to walk away and hit next, they'd still have to demonstrate an understanding of that content. And again, if that's too long of a period of time, we can adjust that as well.
I have a question. In the material that we received, you state that this asynchronously online is in the best interest of the licensee. Could you comment on why this is a better learning tool, not a advantage as far as time management for the licensee, but a better learning tool for the licensee versus interactive?
Sure. Well, I mean, accessibility is obviously one item, and we serve, between the two core courses, over 10,000 licensees in the previous renewal period. So accessibility, the ability to go find a course on their schedule, but certainly to the quality point, I mean, and as regulators, I mean, really, there's far greater regulatory controls available in an asynchronous course than there are in a live online or even a classroom course. For that matter, the content is 100% consistent for every single student. It's fully available there for regulators to make sure that it's accurate, for our subject matter experts to make sure that it's accurate. So there's no chance of information being disseminated differently to any individual students. It also enforces and absolutely requires every single student in the class to show an understanding of the content and really to demonstrate that level of mastery to be able to complete the course. Whereas in a live course, I mean, you may have people that are tuned out part of the time, potentially sleeping, multitasking, whatever it might be. And yes, an instructor can monitor for that, but it is 100% required in an online course such as this that every single student participates in every single activity. The activities, I mean, just one more point on that. The activities are really rich. I mean, you might have a classroom, a 3-hour classroom where, and I do understand the racial bias course, by the way, which was very well designed, is far more interactive. But in this case, using the prescribed content, there's very few built-in activities into that presentation as it is. So in a fully online course such as this, we built in substantial knowledge checks and activities to make sure that, that students are required to demonstrate that understanding.
Mike, do you have a limit of how many students can take this course at a time?
No, in an asynchronous environment, we really don't. They can stop at their own pace. And, we obviously monitor the amount of time that it takes each student, and we monitor final exam scores. And there's lots of things that we monitor, but there's really not a volume limit to that.
I guess my question is that if one would decides while the course has started and wants to jump in the middle of it, he can jump in the middle of it?
Yeah, so it's all self-paced. So they have to go through the entire course. It's not video-based. It's not anything that's time-bound at all. So they can get in, do the first 5 minutes and come back and then complete the remaining time if they choose. But they still have to participate in 100% of the content.
Yeah, and I'd like to add that they have to come back to where they stopped. So they can't, it doesn't like open the course up for them to just start jumping around. They have to come back to exactly where they left off.
Well,
I have another question. When the state approved the online, was it meant for mandatory courses or not? Paulette?
I'm sorry, what was your question, Linda?
Whether when the state approved for online courses, was it meant for mandatory or not?
I don't think we looked at it specifically that way, whether it's mandatory versus your regular courses. Just in general for online courses, because we have online courses in other of our areas like occupational and professional licensing.
I know, but mandatory. I mean,
Jill
it
Conklin,
sounds like
can
what
I-
you're referring to are electives.
Can I make a comment on that?
Go ahead, Joe.
Jill Conklin, real estate examiner for the state of Connecticut. I know that with the mandatory classes, we've always had electives and then we have mandatories. The electives have been administered this way for many years. We all go online late at night or whenever we can, and we would take these classes. The mandatory ones were really meant for interaction. I have a question, I don't understand that. Can you explain that? The instructors give scenarios. It's not meant for like the racial bias. It's the same thing. Mandatory is mandatory. Just like our pre-licensing, we want people to be able to raise their hand, ask a question, and get it answered. And the reason that the class is mandatory is because there's issues with that topic in the previous year, so that they'll make a mandatory class. UConn worked on this PowerPoint, and I know the instructors do interact with the students. So I don't think it was not meant to be delivered in asynchronous.
Asynchronous. Can you please remind me how many hours of continuing ed are mandatory? Is it 6 or is it 9?
It's 12. Oh, mandatory is 6 right now, but that could change. Every 2 years it's different.
Okay, so right now the law class and the diversity class are the 2 mandatory in-person classes.
Correct.
So it's 6 hours of someone's time.
Correct.
Can I interrupt here? This is Fran Kuttner from the CE Shop. The question I have is, if you read the rules, it's chapter 392, and then the site is 20-319B. The rules state that the required CE is 12 hours. And it says it doesn't separate the mandatory from the elective. So if it's 12 hours total, then the mandatory falls within the CE required to renew. So I don't understand how we can separate out the mandatory when the rule itself does not separate it out.
Where are you looking?
I'm looking at chapter 392, and the site is 20-319B.
You're looking at the state statute?
Yes.
I'm just looking at it right now. So in 20-319 subsection B 1, it talks about real estate practices. So that's a PMP, right? Of not less than 12 hours of classroom study. So I don't see where the mandatory is there.
And moreover, if you go down to section D, subsection D, the last line says, no school, institution, or organization that offers courses in real estate practices and licensing laws can be disapproved solely because the courses are taught by electronic means. So therefore, there's nothing that I can see in here that prohibits a course from being completely online.
But we're also talking about online virtual, aren't we? So we're not denying them the right to teach the class online virtually. We're denying them the right to teach the class asynchronously.
But that's not specified.
Correct.
So-
And that.
So
and
then
it's-
but then we're not denying them the right to teach it as a virtual. So can't we specify that it has to be virtual, or no, it has to just be online? We're not denying
electronic
them the
means.
right to teach it virtually.
But by electronic
The live
means,
instructor.
it could be, it doesn't require it to be a live course. Again,
Right.
you don't have to have an instructor there. It
Okay.
could be
Right.
recorded.
The rules just state that as a renewal CE, it's required not less than 12 hours. And because this is mandatory, is part of the renewal process, so it is lumped together with the 12 hours, then I'm not understanding how it can be, the mandatory courses can be separated out, saying, okay, well, they're part of the renewal process, but we're not going to allow it to be taught by electronic means or asynchronously. There's not a separation in the rules, so I'm not understanding how it can be separated out unilaterally.
I don't have the statutes in front of me to refer to, so I'm going to rely on those that do. But there is a reason we make some courses mandatory and some courses elective. Granted, it's 12 hours total, but there is a
Correct.
reason for mandatory. There's an
Well-
emphasis on mandatory for a reason.
Understood, but in previous years, the mandatory was allowed to be taught asynchronously. So this was just a, a more recent decision to not allow it. So it's going against what was previously allowed, but the rule itself hasn't changed. So the language in the rule hasn't changed. And if that's the case, well, I understand you have the power to make your own regulations. I understand that. But what the piece I don't understand is I don't believe that it can be in conflict with your own rule.
Well,
So
could you?
essentially, we just have to change the state statute to clarify that then. If the commission wishes to to have some classes not delivered asynchronously, or the ability to not allow some classes to be delivered asynchronously, then the statute would need to change. Is that correct?
That is my understanding.
I'm asking DCP legal that question.
If you would like to limit how courses are structured by electronic means, then the clearest way of doing that would be to amend the statute. And
Okay.
I can tell you that this language was specifically included in 2003.
Okay, so
language about allowing the electronic means.
All right, so things have changed immensely since 2003. So perhaps we should revisit this, because we do find that, agents are not following laws, or agents are not understanding statutes. And, it probably helps to have them in a live classroom setting where they can ask questions and or hear banter back and forth between other participants and an instructor, so they can understand what they should be doing, rather than them just sitting at a computer, wandering away for 20 minutes to do their laundry, coming back before it times out, paging through and answering questions.
Again, a well-designed course does not work that way. An online course that meets regulatory requirements does not work that way. It's actually, you can better assess how well a student is learning through a fully online course than you can through a live classroom.
Okay.
Mr. Chairperson, we have Leslie O'Brien with our hand up.
Go ahead.
I just want to say that, first of all, the direction that the administration is moving in with sort of online CEs is given the global pandemic, is they want to make sure that those options are available, and that we're not as restrictive as some, and not yours, but other statutes, other licensing statutes are. And so we actually have a proposal for this next legislative session to ensure that some of the other occupational licenses allow for online CE. So what you're talking about would be in the opposite direction of that. And I know that on our end, we've already submitted our legislative proposals for the session, so we certainly wouldn't be able to submit it. But even so, I don't think it would be something that we would get sign off from the administration to submit.
We aren't denying the ability to do online. it's online asynchronous, where they don't have an instructor and there's no real-time interaction where they can ask questions. That's what we have an issue with certain things. So for example, and then a question's just been asked by somebody who's online, is principles and practices, the class that new real estate agents take, is that allowed to be asynchronously delivered? Or does the person have to have an in-person instructor?
There's nothing in the statutes that prohibits them from having it asynchronously.
Okay, so they can take 60 hours of I'm sitting in a computer at my house and I then can pass my real estate test. I don't have to have any interaction with a real person to be able to ask questions or anything like that, and I can pass a test and get my real estate license based on how the statute is currently written. I'm not saying
Julianne?
schools are offering that option, but that's the ability to do that is there based on how the statute is written.
Can you comment on that, Julian?
I really have no comment on it, that it is, the courses are all allowed to be fully electronic. So there's no requirement for a live instructor. So yes, if they, I would imagine that from what I've heard, the real estate exam is not easy to pass. So I would imagine that if these courses are not preparing people adequately to pass the real estate exam, then you'd have public outcry from those people who are taking the courses and paying for it. So as to whether or not they adequately prepare people to participate in the market, that's something that would be, I guess, determined by both the consumers and the educators. And we would look at the curriculum, as we do with the course providers for all of the other classes, whether they are live or online asynchronous, to look at the substance of it. So, but no, to answer your question in short, is there a requirement that it's got a live instructor when it's offered online? No, there's no requirement.
There's been, both in our material and Ms. O'Brien brought up the pandemic. I'm not sure how that correlates into online, whether it's interactive or not, as a reason that this should go forward or not go forward. CE shop, any comments from the CE shop? No.
I'm sorry, I'm not clear what the question is. As far as the pandemic,
Yeah, it was when the
Well,
data that we received from you, from Rebecca, and Ms. O'Brien just commented on it, that the pandemic is one of the reasons to ask for what you're asking for this morning.
No, can I just be clear? That's not what I was saying. So
okay, go ahead.
So my point was, if there was a desire to amend the statutes to make certain requirements in terms of live instruction, that proposal should not be. And now I think there was a clarification made, so now I understand that wasn't the proposal wasn't to require people to actually be in a classroom, rather that it was just that there be an instructor present online. But my point was only that if you were looking to amend the statute to require something when it comes to this, that it not be that people be in person in a classroom. So because we're moving away from that in other licensed occupations. And so that was my point. If this is all about purely whether or not with online instruction, there's a requirement that there be an instructor, a live instructor online, that's different. However, I will say, and that our legislative proposals are already submitted for next session, and it would not be something DCP could be part of proposing for the next legislative session.
I've got some questions anyhow. I was going to talk to Jill specifically. You are actually exposed a lot of feedback from agents who have taken different classes online. They've been a lot of negative about them.
There has been some negative. Part of it is you can enroll at any time. They have They have classes that you have 60 hours. you can jump in at the beginning, you can jump in the middle, at the end, but that's not what this is. This would be something a little bit different. But they do like the interaction. There's a lot of interaction. I pop onto these classes and the students are questioning things. They don't get a certain, a certain element, and the instructor will describe it, give a scenario, give a story, and then they go, oh yeah, now I get it. So, I mean, there's a lot to be said for the, especially with the law class of all things. I mean, that's where there's a lot of issues with agency disclosures and what to do, what not to do. And as you guys all know, real estate isn't like, you just don't, it's not just open a book and go. There's a lot of personal opinion and thought that goes into play.
If I can just speak to what Jill is saying, and I hear you, but wouldn't it be then the student's choice if they prefer an interactive course to choose that? And if a student prefers an asynchronous course, that they should be able to choose that as well?
I mean, they're choosing the asynchronous classes when they take their electives mostly. And I know that a lot of schools want to bundle it all. And if you don't have one class, then you may not get the student because they're doing bundles.
Right.
And just to mention that, Connecticut, we only have 12 hours. There's states around us that have 20, 22 hours. So, I mean, 12 hours is not a lot of time to keep your license every 2 years.
Right. But to your point of, it being a bundle, that's actually, creating a problem for asynchronous providers, because that is going to impact them, because now Connecticut is choosing to not allow the entire CE renewal package to be online. So basically, it's a deficit for us when the rule doesn't prohibit it.
We're not disallowing it to be online. We don't want it to be asynchronous.
Correct, and I hear you, but the rules don't specify
I
that.
understand that, but I'm clarifying what you just said, that we're disallowing virtual, which that's not what we're doing. We want a live instructor. For example, the diversity class that we came up with, that we make mandatory, is because agents feel there's no discrimination in real estate, which is absolutely ludicrous.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, on a daily basis, I see agents doing things that, make you turn your head and say, what is going on? Like, there's a reason we want people in a classroom interacting with their colleagues and an instructor, so they can ask questions and so they can get other points of view. You're not getting that in an asynchronous environment. You can get it from an instructor-led online class. So
No.
I guess it then behooves the commission to have a discussion amongst ourselves if we need to work towards changing the state statute. Apparently not this year, maybe in the following legislative session, if we want to specify that we have the ability to designate whether certain classes have to be delivered in person, virtual or not, or like physically, because of concerns we have about people absorbing content.
Okay, I've got a question. We had for years, we had stats provided to us regarding pass and failure. I'm sure some of you must remember that. That seemed like, I'd be curious in the last year if what has gone on as far as pass and failure percentage wise. Has it increased, or where are we at? Jill?
I don't have those numbers for you today. I mean, I think I can get them, but I would say that would be a good gauge, because you've only been online for about a year, right? A little over a year.
Yeah.
So that would let us see if more people or less people are passing.
That's
correct. I mean, I do have applicants calling me or emailing me and saying, I've taken this test 3, 4, 5 times and I still can't pass it. And I think some of it might be that they are online I mean, that's a
Well,
luxury, not to have to drive to a building, you know, go inside and sit like we all did to get to where we are. But I think, you know, and the online has a lot to be desired too, even the live, because people turn their camera, they go off. I mean, I see it all when I go on these classes. They're not all engaged. Some of them are.
Just to clarify though, Connecticut does not currently have any providers who offer pre-licensing in a fully online asynchronous environment, which is vastly different than a Zoom live online type session, and the efficacy of live online is highly questionable. We do have statistics available, and if this commission interested in seeing them, we're happy to provide them with other jurisdictions where fully online is allowed and offered, where we can provide state averages versus the fully online. And somebody brought up the effectiveness of it, and the reality is that fully online students, at least our students, are in most jurisdictions substantially higher pass rates on their licensing exam than classroom, and certainly than live online.
But I think, the bottom line is that I remember when we started years ago, and I said it was 30 hours, and then everybody was complaining there was too many failures, so we went to 60 hours, and then it went down a lot. Failure went down a lot, and then, but now since we've on the online recently on it, I like to know where those numbers are before I would make a decision.
Ben, I will get those numbers for you.
Okay.
But I won't be able to get them now. I'll have to.
No, we'll get it
for our next meeting.
I think we should probably table this right now to get to swallow it a little bit and digest it at this time.
Excuse
is
me.
that tabling the mandatory core request, or live, or the pre-licensing?
Pre-licensing.
What we're really looking for is a decision on the law course, the CE course.
Exactly. And I don't know that one can compare a CE course, mandatory CE course, to a pre-licensing course. I feel like that might be apples and oranges.
Well, so if we're hearing, however, though, that the state doesn't have a statute that supports that there has to be a online virtual, then do we actually even have to make a decision? Can't you just go forward with delivering the program you have asynchronously? Because you're telling us right now, and I think DCP has confirmed that the statute that's in place doesn't allow us to mandate that.
Right. So we would just need, obviously, formal course approval, so we could deliver the course. Yes.
But does that come from us, or does that come from DCP?
That would come from DCP, but how is that any different than the racial bias course? Can they just teach that the same way too?
Apparently, based on how our law is written.
Because a lot of schools aren't teaching that for several reasons.
But Jill, when the content's reviewed, you can look at it from the perspective of, are all the objectives of the course being met, right? And in the racial bias course, admittedly, that's tough to do. It's built to be an interactive course, and we're planning on offering that one via live online. This business law course, though, all the course objectives and all of the content can effectively be delivered. So wouldn't that just be part of the content review like it would be for an elective course?
I guess I would have to sit through the 3-hour course.
Again, that's a question of content, not a forum.
The content?
So it is reviewing the content for approval, not the way it's being presented.
There is no restriction.
But hasn't that course already been approved? They're just teaching it
Different
virtually now, not
schools,
asynchronously.
well, schools one at a time apply, make application to administer that course, and then it gets approved. And it's a PowerPoint that comes from UConn, so we just give them the PowerPoint. So it's really, any school that's an active school that's registered can teach that course. They just have to make an application, and then we send them the link to the PowerPoint. Oh, I send them the link to the PowerPoint.
Yep, and can I just clarify that we have actually already been approved to teach this course, and we did submit a course application form to teach it online asynchronously in August, and that application has not been acted upon yet.
So then does the commission not have a decision for that? And it's just DCP reviewing your course and approving it? Is that correct?
I mean, I think
Juliana,
it's technically already been approved.
The course has been approved?
The course is approved for anybody that's any school to teach, any school that's registered with the state.
Then I feel like we don't have a decision to make here, because the way the statute is written doesn't allow us to distinguish it has to be delivered in a certain way. So if the course has been approved, then the course has been approved and they can deliver it however they want. Is that correct, DCP?
Rebecca, did I send you a link to the PowerPoint?
Yep, we have it, and our instructor went to the train the trainer and got all the information there. So I think we should be okay.
So the train the trainer wasn't for the law class, that was for the racial bias class. And how are you gonna administer that the same way?
Well, I don't know that we necessarily decided we might do both, but initially we're probably to start with live online. Just for the racial bias course. We'd like to do the law asynchronously.
And so the application is to DCP, which would then oversee the review and then approval of the course. So that is an internal department review and decision-making process. So yes, that's going to be handled by Jill and her team.
But one question, how would I monitor that class? I guess you can't monitor it because everybody's at their own pace, at their own timeline.
Well, we
Because
just
it does
give you
say in our
access.
regulation that the Department of Consumer Protection will monitor these classes.
Right, and we can give you access to the course, and you can log in at any time that is convenient for you to go through the course, make sure that all the objectives are met, check like the exam questions, etc.
However, I can't log in while it's actively being administered to see, because that's what, monitoring or popping onto a class is to see how it's being delivered, how the student's accepting it, what's going on.
Jill, I think you and I can sidebar on this. The key being that it's going to be the same class every single time, that it's not going to vary. We are going to have the content. It'll be static content. It'll be administered at whatever pace the person is able to read and digest it. However, it's not going to be you interacting with any student, because it would be no live human interacting with any student. So the same way that, we're not stopping a course and doing interviews with the students in the class to see how they're processing the information, we wouldn't be doing that online with an asynchronous class either. So from our perspective, it's only about course content that we would review in advance. And that, you can certainly take the course, we'll get a link, but.
And if it helps,
are you using the PowerPoint that's been?
Yes. So we are
Yeah,
using the PowerPoint to create all of the course content. And this will work exactly like you've seen in any of our elective courses. So it's the same process. You log in, you start the course, you go through it slide by slide. It's linear, you can't skip ahead. There's seat time rules. You have to complete all the activities before you can move forward. So it's exactly the same process as you see in our elective courses. And this course was
prescribed,
built.
except in this case, the prescribed content is used, the PowerPoint content. So when you go through it, you'll see the content there. You'll see it supplemented by additional activities and those types of things, but the content itself will be there from the PowerPoint. And one comment on the monitoring classes. Of course, it's static content, so you see it once, you know what every student's getting. But what you absolutely can monitor, and we can make fully available to you, is the data that's available, who took it, when they took it, how long they took to complete it. So that duration data, final exam scores, if you're interested in that. I know it's not a requirement of the course, but we have that data. And then finally, end of course surveys. If you want to see what the students are saying, they're mandatory at the end of every course, and those are also available. So that would be one way of monitoring students without having to hop in and actually see what they're doing inside the class.
Okay. Well, I kind of agree actually with Amy. As long as the course has been approved. And Jill, I think has that been approved?
Yes,
It's been approved.
yes. If they have the PowerPoint, it's been approved, because once I approve it, then I send them the PowerPoint.
And the sense in the regulations or in the bill, there's nothing that prevents them from teaching this. I can see, based on what Julianne has said. Am I correct, Julianne? I can't.
Yep, in the statute, it specifically says that no course can be disapproved because it's taught by electronic means.
Okay. All right, any other questions? All right. Everybody ready to make a decision? All right. I'm looking for a motion, please.
Is there a decision to make? I don't think the commission takes any action on this, I believe.
This is an internal DCP licensing issue of just having our course approval comply with law.
Would you prefer that we did or not? Doesn't make a difference. Doesn't make a difference.
There's
Okay.
no impact on our license.
Okay, that's fine.
I just have why was this put on our agenda
Right.
and by whom?
It was put on the agenda.
Who's speaking?
Jill Conklin.
Sorry, Jill.
Because I was corresponding with Rebecca and the CE shop, and they wanted to put this forward, and I didn't think it was something we would be doing, so I put it on the agenda for the commission. I believe they wanted to bring it to the commission. Is that correct, Rebecca?
Why did you feel it was necessary to bring it to the commission, Rebecca?
Well, just because we did not have an answer. So we had submitted this course actually last year, and we were told, no, the commission is not allowing this course to be taught via asynchronous delivery. So that was the initiating.
The commission or the department or the department?
Commission.
The commission.
I believe it was said by the commission, because the commission made the decision to only allow these two mandatory courses live online or in classroom. So I believe that was the impetus that drove it to the commission.
Okay, well, I guess we don't have to, we can move on. All right. Thank you so much for coming in, participating.
Hey,
All of
thanks
you?
for having us. We appreciate the dialogue.
Yep, absolutely.
Yes, thank you
both.
very much.
All right, we're going to move on to old business, legal. Teams legislative update. You've got all of in your packet. There was the which I think was pretty good, although I got part of it. Did everybody get the Connecticut Department of Consumer Protection, an email from them? Was a blast regarding questions, do's and don'ts, and also a copy of the bill itself that's going into effect. Did everyone get get that? I guess
Is that what came a day or so ago? I mean, I as a licensee have
Friday.
received.
Amy, was Friday.
Okay, because I received, well, was it from the commission or was it from DCP or was it from CTR? Which are you referring to?
Both. This was,
DCP.
was both. We got something from CTR also.
Okay, so what we got
I
from
think there was questions
DCP,
and answers.
all right, what we got from DCP yesterday, that was the same thing that came from CTR Friday, is that correct?
Yes, that's something,
Okay.
yes, that's correct. Okay, and that is regarding the questions, teams about regarding questions.
Yes, but have we seen what's being proposed to the legislature for team
Regulations?
tables? Yes.
For the regulations on
Have we seen that yet?
That's what I got on Friday. It was substitute House Bill 26624. Did you get that? Public Act 21-167? It came.
That was from CTR?
No, this was from the department.
Just to clarify, so that is the act that was passed last legislative session.
Right.
That is the law that's going to become effective on January 1st. So that is not proposed, like that is something that will be law in a few months.
Okay.
So the regulations are a separate thing and those have not been distributed.
I was going to say, I didn't see anything related to regulations at all.
No, you have not received.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, we did get a little bit of something one time came through, and then we haven't heard anything else. I'm sure you're going back and forth with CTR regarding these regulations. How are we doing with this? Is this final yet, or?
No, we do not have a final draft on this. We, as part of going through this exercise of answering the questions that have been coming in, we've realized that there are a number of concerns from the industry about how this is going to play out. And there is still an outstanding question of whether or not CTR plans on proposing any legislation this year for this session that may in any way modify the team's language that was set forth, just to eliminate any confusion and streamline things. So while while that conversation is still underway, while they're mulling that over, it does seem premature to write or set forth the regulations in a way that may conflict with law. I mean, that being said, we don't plan on holding the regulations up forever. We certainly understand the need to have additional clarity in the marketplace for all the realtors and brokers. So I think we are following up with CTR on that to see where that'll be going, and hopefully we'll have an update soon, but I don't have one today.
So we'll be getting an update shortly. So in other words, it's in the works still right now. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So Julianne, are we using the questions and also the do's and the don'ts? Because I think that's what Ben's referring to.
The do's and the don'ts and the questions, those are all separate. Those are separate documents that are advisories. What Ben is asking about are the regulations, which are and supplement the statute in order to add additional clarity that need to be adopted through a formal process, including being voted on by the Regulation Review Committee. So before we codify anything in law, we want to make sure that we're all on the same page about where things are going, especially with any potential statutory changes.
Julian, I have a question for you. This what I received Friday regarding the do's and don'ts or whatever. Did that go out? Who did that go out to? All the licensed agents, or where did this go out to?
That's a question for CTR. We did not send that.
You didn't send the Connecticut, came from you.
There's an email that went out. That was before, that was just on Friday?
Mm-hmm.
That was the date was.
Oh, Paula, I'm sorry. I thought it went out earlier than that. Okay.
10/29. 10/29.
All right, that's my mistake. I thought it went out a few days before that. Okay. Then yes, that is from us.
That is from you. Okay. I guess what I'm saying, I got it. Who else got it?
Every salesperson and broker, everyone with an active real estate credential.
Did everybody get one of these? Amy, well, you're licensed. Linda, you're licensed. Did you receive something from?
I don't recall receiving it, but I probably did. I usually open up CT.
Karen, and look, I don't know if you can see this. This is what it looked like. It should have came. Anybody see that?
I'm sorry, is it an email from CTR? Is that what we're talking
No,
about?
No,
this is
it's
an
an
email
email
from
from-
DCP
DCP,
And
I
when
only
would
have-
that have been sent?
Friday.
Friday.
No, I have received nothing from DCP other than the email yesterday and then the agenda and everything for the.
Can I
this meeting.
check, this is Leslie O'Brien, if you did, check your spam filter, please. Which oftentimes when we send mass emails out to a substantial number of licensees, it gets caught up in people's spam filters. It was sent to anyone, or if for some reason in the licensing platform, if your email is different from the email that we send to you as commissioners, that would also be an issue. So I would just make, but I would check your spam filter. It was sent, it was a bulk email that was sent based on the emails that are in the licensing system to all credential holders, real estate.
Okay, so
would be the-
I check my spam religiously. I have not received anything from DCP other than the main office here about this.
Then you should verify that your email address in the licensing system is the same email address that you have as a commissioner. And
Could-
so
could-
check that
could
out with
somebody-
Jill after or someone else, that's fine.
Could
I
somebody
can check that for you, Amy.
could somebody
Okay.
verify who the sender was so I can search for
So-
it?
The sender was DCP at list.ct.gov.
Thanks.
That's what it was. And it was a notation. You could tell, it was a, it was a mass because it says DCP do not reply back. So it was just a bulk email.
The last email I have received from that email address was on August 19th, 2020, about a phishing scam. And and I have absolutely not changed my email address.
Again, I would just then talk with Jill offline after to figure out what the problem is, but.
Well, but wait, so there's numerous licensees on this phone call. Have any of us received this email? Linda, did you get it? Sharon, did you get it?
I did
Ben,
not
you
get it. No.
No,
Ben, did you
Again,
get it?
Again, there's nothing we can do on this call, in this meeting right now, then we can verify after why, but like, it's not gonna be resolved in this meeting right now. It was a bulk email that was sent. It was pulled from the licensing system, all the email, and it was a bulk email. I don't know, so we can figure it out after, but like.
What was the content of the email about the new regulations?
It was clarity about how we are interpreting no, not about the regulations,
Amy?
about the public act.
Amy, I received it. This is
Okay.
Linda. I received it
You did receive it. Okay.
on the 29th
That's right. That's right.
at 10:47 a.m.
So I have a question, maybe this is for Julianne. So that email went out to everybody. And now there's a large number of emails coming to me regarding how to name the team and are you saying that there's a hold on this or not a hold on this?
What do you mean?
Because you said that, there's further discussion that needs to be had, because I mean, people are giving me.
Hold on, Jill, let me just stop you. So Jill, the new regulations that we're talking about are different. What we sent out has to deal with the Public Act and our current law. So everything that we commented on, both with frequently asked questions and with the document that was sent out on Friday with the do's and don'ts, those are based on current law, not speculation about regulations. If you have any questions about interpretation of those, please follow up with Paulette offline.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. So if you would like, for those who know what we're talking about, I'd be more than glad to email it. Amy. Linda, you got it, right?
If you could please forward it to me, because I've checked my trash and my spam and I don't have it.
I'll send it to Sharon.
And I haven't not
Please.
changed my email address in the
Yeah.
licensing system, so I don't know what
thank,
happened.
thank you, Ben.
Thanks.
Okay, I will get it all out to you. All right.
Mr. Chairperson, we have two hands that have been raised. Kathy Standish from has had her hand raised first, and then Nicole Borsey. I'm not sure if you want to take questions from the public at this time.
Yes, Kathy?
My only comment was that I did receive the email on October 28th, and it was in my spam box.
Okay.
Ms. Borsey? Your hand is still up?
Hi. Okay, I don't know, my camera's not on, but that's okay. I would like some clarification on real estate broker licenses, specifically with real estate brokers licenses in an entity. So currently, if you look at the statute regarding advertising, I believe, I don't have it up in front of me, I should have opened it, but currently it states that basically you have to advertise in the name in which you're licensed, and you can never advertise to the exclusion of your broker, correct? So if you are licensed in an entity, not individually, would you not then be able to advertise or then potentially register your team name in that entity name, excluding LLC, adding the word team of, you know, broker of record? Would that not be legal then?
I think we'd have to see it all. Jill, you want to comment on that?
I can answer this.
Yeah, no.
Okay, Julie.
I would like Julianne to answer if that's okay.
So if you are a real estate broker entity,
Mhm.
then you can be the only one on your team, because people who are on a team need to all be supervised by the same broker. So you cannot be on the same team as people as salespersons that report to you. If you're going to be advertising, you're going to advertise solely in your broker entity name. Now, if you have 10 agents that work for you, or salespersons rather, and 5 of them want to create a team, that's fine. You cannot be on it either as the business or as an individual, because you would not report to the same broker that they do.
Okay, so then can you explain to me why we have hundreds, thousands of agents who are currently licensed in an REB? The state never shows their broker of record, yet they're affiliated with any of the companies within the state. So because there is no distinction of an associate broker's license, how can we tell a broker now you cannot advertise in the name in which you're licensed and you can't form a team? So every broker can't form a team because there is no associate broker's license with the state?
It's not that every broker can't advertise. Now, let's say that, Nicole, you are a broker and you work for William Raves.
Mm-hmm.
Then there are a bunch of other salespersons that also work for William Raves. You and those salespersons can be on the same team. You have the same designated broker.
But
However, go ahead.
I'm sorry, but in an REB, whether it's an entity or an individual, you do not have any other designated broker. You are a broker. There is no associate broker's license. So
why would there can work for a broker? Broker can have a designated broker.
Okay, so where does it show that in the regulation? Because there is no distinction on the e-license lookup that you have a designated broker when you're an REB as an individual.
Yes, I do understand that when you look up on the public facing e-license website, it will not show that a broker has a designated broker. That is correct.
Right.
That is just a function of e-license. That is not.
Okay.
It's just a function of e-license at this point.
So why is there a distinction between REB and an entity and REB as an individual? Because can you point me to the statute where it says if you're an REB as an entity, you cannot work for another designated broker? Because we have plenty of them throughout the entire state, not just my brokerage, because agents want to be paid as an LLC. They want that protection of an LLC. So the solution has always been, well, you need to be a broker. You need to get licensed in the LLC because I need to pay you in the name in which you're licensed. So even taking the team situation aside, is that now not going to be an issue? for all these brokers getting paid in an entity who are affiliated with another broker? We have, I'm sure, thousands of them.
Okay, taking apart the paying your individuals. Just getting to the heart of this, you're asking me if a real estate business can work for another real estate business. This is the first question?
Currently, they do.
Okay, and Paulette, I want you to weigh in here because you spent a lot of time with us. So are you still on? Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. Yep.
Is there any prohibition of a real estate brokerage entity working for another real estate brokerage entity?
No.
That was my understanding as well.
Same. Same. So that's why I'm confused why we would tell an entity REB that that entity name can't be the team name when we register to get compliant in January. I guess that's my question.
Who's going to be on your team?
So, okay, so I'll give you an example for myself. I'm currently a broker of record for EXP in Connecticut, but put that aside. Let's say I'm an agent and I hope I happen to have an REB in an entity. I'm not the broker of record. Okay, forget that part. That's a different entity. So I work for EXP. I'm an REB in an LLC entity license. So registered with the Secretary of the State and the DCP, right? So I'm licensed, and that license, I'll just give the name of my former brokerage that I used to own, the Property Network, LLC. I want to name my team the Property Network. So I register the team name as the Property Network because that is the license in which I hold. Pretend I dropped my individual license and I'm just the designee for the entity. I have my team name, and all my team members must also be with EXP as well.
You're advertising a business name. So the law expressly prohibits you from advertising a business name or a business.
And why then does the...
It is allowing people, individuals,
mm-hmm.
to group together for the purpose of advertising a smaller group, a team, mm-hmm. within a brokerage or underneath the broker. It can be an individual or a business.
Understood. Then why then do the
CTR?
Why then do the CTR FAQs have examples like the Sunshine Team?
It says Sunshine Team at, and then it has the broker entity's name following it. So we'll never say Sunshine Team. We'll have to say Sunshine Team at. Yeah.
But I prefaced with never to the exclusion of the broker that you're with. So that I thought that was understood. So if I am the property network of a team, the property network, and the word team, I put it in the chat if you want to see how I wrote it. But if you're an entity and then you put the word team, drop the LLC with a DBA, put the word team of EXP Realty, how is that not compliant with the current regulation? And the Public Act, for that matter, because I'm licensed in the entity. So if my entity is...
Because we have to have all individuals on the team named. They're individual. We want to be tracking the individuals because we want to be very clear that those people that you sponsor
mm-hmm.
are not included in your team.
Okay,
and so it's misrepresenting the scope of who's involved based on saying it is this entity when it's not that entity. It is you individually are on a team.
But I'm saying to drop the LLC and put the word team of broker name. So in the FAQs examples, it has the Sunshine Team. That wasn't the agent's name, Sunshine. So why is that in the FAQ then?
I cannot speak to what's in the CTR FAQs. I'd have to see what specific example it is. I don't know what you're referencing specifically right now. And whether CTR put out something that we may need additional clarity on, then we can certainly work with CTR on that.
I mean, my agents will tell you I'm all for with sticking with the regulation, but under the current regulation, this seems like it would be okay because you're actually licensed in the entity and you're adding the word team, you're dropping the LLC, adding the word team and adding the broker name. So I don't see how that would be non-compliant.
Because it's any, and I'll bring up the Public Act. So it's anything that connotes a business entity. And you're listing you're taking out the LLC, but you're still listing a business entity in there.
Okay, so everyone who has a business entity REB that works for another broker, which is currently allowed, Paulette just said that's not disallowed, right? So all those individuals will have to go back to an individual license.
You can either have it in addition to or in lieu of.
Okay, so, all right, I'll send an email just to further clarify, but I don't see anywhere in the Public Act where it says if you're licensed in an entity, you have to drop the entity and go back to an individual.
You don't have to drop it.
But you just
You
can't
just have to be an individual. You can have both.
Okay, but you can't have the entity name in the team name. So even if you're licensed in that name, you cannot use it.
Yes,
I just want
that is a business entity. Yes.
Okay, I'm not argumentative. I just want to be very clear because I have agents on the call. So, okay. All right. So hopefully there can be some clarification on that, because with the way the Public Act is written and the way the current advertising regulation is written, it doesn't seem like that would be necessarily correct or fair. So I think there's clarification needed on that, like formally.
Well, I'm having trouble right now pulling up the bill over on the Connecticut General Assembly site. It seems like having some trouble, but I'm happy to put it.
I have it.
Can I put things in chat? No, I can email things to Terry Jo and maybe she can put them in chat for me. So
I have the link. I have the link to the Public Act.
I have the link too, and it's not loading.
Yeah, it loaded for me. So is there something you want me to take a look at?
No, it's all right. I will send it over and then she can share it with everyone.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Nicole, I got a question for you. You said that your team name was called Team and then DBA XP?
No. What I was saying is if I'm licensed in an entity, the Property Network LLC, which is inactive right
That's
now.
fine, yeah.
So the Property Network LLC is me. I work for EXP Realty. My understanding is that if I advertise the Property Network, I can't use the LLC anymore because of the Public Act. So I'm not purporting to be an entity, but I still want the protection of an entity, right? So I'll do a DBA in Stamford, Connecticut saying the Property Network LLC is doing business as the Property Network team at EXP Realty or of EXP.
Okay, all right. You had, that's okay. That's fine.
So I'm sorry if I misspoke earlier, but that was my intention. Was a DBA to cover the LLC, not to add that into the name. So if the Sunshine team is okay, would the Property Network team of broker be okay?
No, that's not an individual's name.
But the Sunshine team is not an individual name, and that's an FHA.
That's what I'm saying. The Sunshine team is not an individual's name. So
okay,
no,
so
based on what what the Public Act states, no, that would not be compliant.
I think that's why everyone's confused, because CTR is saying, and I'm all for regulation. My agents will tell you I am like so ridiculously compliant. I'm a nut.
That's fine. We'll clarify this.
Yeah. So I think
CTR after this, and we'll make sure that there's more.
I'm just confused because the CTR is saying that they did that.
I understand. I get it. We'll clarify with CTR.
Thank you. Understood. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Was there anyone else?
No, Mr. Chairperson, no
Does
other
anybody-
hands are raised at this time.
That's it, okay. All right, also, I forgot on here, we have to approve the Real Estate Commission schedule for 2022 already. Did you all get a copy of that for Wednesday, February 2nd, Wednesday, May 2nd, Wednesday, August 3rd, Wednesday, November 2nd, all 2022? So we need
Move
to,
we accept.
I'm sorry?
I'm moving that we accept those dates.
Okay. All right, second?
Again,
All right, discussion?
I have a question. Are they all going to be virtual?
Do we know that yet?
At this time, we have received guidance that we will be doing this through the end of April, but that is the most recent guidance that we have, that our meetings will be virtual until the end of April 2022. If there's anything additional, we have our legal director here, Julianne Avalon. If if there's anything new regarding that. But the latest I've heard was the end of April 2022. Am I correct, Julianne?
I have no additional information on that one. We're gonna go with what Terry Jo says.
Thank you.
Let's vote, let's make a decision on the dates. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Accepted. Okay. I think, anything else, anything
do,
more
Ben.
business you want to bring up?
I just have procedural input. I'm wondering if we can, when we have, particularly on Zoom, when we have somebody speaking, if they could identify themselves and where they're from, anything that we need to know, because all of us are not aware of every person that is speaking. I'm not talking about the public. I just want anybody that's interacting with us. Would like to know who they are and what their title is. And if they can be on video rather than this kind of anonymous situation that we can't even see them to interact with them, is annoying, quite frankly.
Okay, their names are under their.
I understand, Ben, but I don't necessarily know everybody's position or title or who they are.
Mhm.
So I need them to identify themselves, is what I'm asking.
And Linda, I tend to agree with you, especially for me, because I don't know everyone and all I'm seeing is a blank, a blank. So could we make a motion that that future meetings that are on Zoom be on video? Could that be a requirement? I'm asking, I'm not making a motion. I'm asking if it's possible to make a motion for that, or discussion on that.
As one, I have been instructed by my daughter not to use Zoom, as her company nationwide, worldwide, has forbidden its use to its employees. So I would hesitate to go beyond using just the phone as I am. And this is Morik.
Well, I think if just for the matter of identification, I think we can ask whether it's the public or whether it's us who have to identify ourselves. I think we've got to be.
Yeah, that's really all I'm asking.
But we have to be. We have to be consistent.
If people want to be on video, I guess that's a choice. But as far as identification, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to be consistent on that. So whether it's from the public or whatever, we'll have to have them identify themselves. Whether they have the video on or not, they still have to identify themselves.
Mr. Chairman, I actually was able to get the Connecticut General Assembly website to work. Terry Jo, I did just send you an email. If you can put that up on the screen, I think that'd be helpful to just walk through real quickly.
You just sent it to me, Julianne?
Yes.
Just waiting for it to come
already.
through.
It should be there soon. Oh, whoops. No, I sent it to Terry Arsenal. There you go. That's why she was there. So sorry.
No worries.
Let me send it to the right person and then we can go from there. Sorry about that.
No worries.
So what I am sending out right now, though, that Terry Jo will be putting up is section I of the Public Act. And so what it states in there is that you have to have the full name of the licensed broker or salesperson, or one of the licensed broker or salesperson that's on the team at whomever that designated broker is, so that you have both of those in combination. And it has to be the full license name. So, and there's not an option to, not the link. I mean, you can go to, actually, sure, you can scroll down to section 2I. I cut it and pasted into the email, but this is there. So it's down pages.
Section 2I, okay. Oh, here we go.
Here we go.
Yeah, so scroll down just a little bit more, perfect. So you can see in there, so you have to have the full name of broker or salesperson, and that can't be, you can't just drop an LLC or modify the name in any way, and you're doing it. So that already there is saying, it's not clear from just I1 whether or not it could be a business. However, when you read it in conjunction with I3, you can't have any name that implies a business entity. And that wouldn't be implying a business entity if you put it in there of, let's say it's Sunshine Team or Sunshine Team Inc. You register your team name as a business, and that's your broker entity. That would still be a business entity. It would be expressly stating that it's a business entity, not, even implying it. So it needs to be an individual that's listed there. So it's going to be Julianne Avalone at Berkshire Hathaway, or Julianne Avalone team, rather, at Berkshire Hathaway. The whole reason that we set this ball in motion a while ago was to make sure that there was clarity about who people were contracting with, who people were forming a real estate relationship with from the consumer end. This is about disclosure more than anything. And so this gives full disclosure of here's the human, here's who they work for. So yes, you may be meeting up with Julianne Avalone, or associate of hers, but she works for Berkshire Hathaway. When you get the contract to list your home, that's who's going to be named there. And there are some exceptions to that, because, and if I am a salesperson that works for Amy, and Amy works for Berkshire Hathaway, then it would say Julianne Avalone, or Julianne Avalone team of Amy Bergquist. And then but the contract may actually be down the road with Berkshire Hathaway because of the relationship of how things move up. But yeah, so hopefully that answers some questions.
Okay.
Mr. Chairperson, we have Brenda Milholm with her hand raised. I'm not sure if you want to acknowledge her at this time.
Oh, okay, let her in.
Okay. Ms. Milholm, you may unmute at this time and ask the commission your question.
Thank you.
You're
My name
welcome.
is Brenda Milholm. Oops, let me turn on, I don't know how to turn on my camera from here. I am addressing, thank you.
We see your identity here. That's okay, Brenda.
She'll be able to come on camera in a second.
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you very much for that. My name is Brenda Milholm. I'm a broker with my own brokerage company here in Connecticut. I think that today is a very sad day in the real estate industry as a result of what I heard in this meeting today. The education piece is paramount. We extended under your tutelage the length of time that someone for pre-licensing needs. And by making mandatory classes asynchronous, it is going to be to the detriment of this industry. That is my 100% opinion. Whether any of you or all of you agree with me or not, I don't care. I am an instructor in this state, and it has been a horrifying thing that this occurred. Because now I'm going to ask our school to put forward that we teach asynchronously the PMP class. That's going to be horrifying. I'm just kidding about that. I would not. I've been teaching PMP for 3 years. We have an excellent pass rate. And if those students could not interact with us as instructors, it would be detrimental. I am advising them at each step of the way that they are learning what they need to pass the state test, and that they need to arrange to work with a fabulous broker so that they can learn what they need to in our industry. So they are given each step. They're giving stories of real life that I have encountered and the other agents I know have encountered. I bring in guest speakers to help them so that they know what it's like in the lending industry, what it's like in the home inspecting industry. I have an attorney talk to them about a contract. I do things in my class that no one else in this state does. And it is detrimental to me that you would allow a school that's in it to make money because they could care less about our agents to teach a class that was mandatory, created by the state and DCP to allow them to teach asynchronously. I know that there's an issue because I am one of the instructors for the bias class. And I know that that course was not supposed to be able to go to anyone without the express permission, because the videos in that class were, they had to sign their life away for thousands of dollars if that's violated for sharing those videos. So I hope that if DCP approved that for someone, that they got that express permission from CTR. Because after this call, I'm going to call to find out if that was granted. We all have to work together. This is terrible, terrible, in my opinion, that this was allowed to happen today. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions from the commission? Okay. Thank you, Brenda.
You're very welcome. Well, thank you for allowing me in the meeting.
Okay, I think we've pretty much covered our whole meeting today. So we will adjourn. We probably won't see each other for the holidays now. Our next meeting is what? February?
February 2nd
February 2nd,
of 2022.
2022. Wow, goes by quickly.
Very.
Well, have a great Turkey Day and Christmas.
That's right. Thank you all for coming and participating.